Welcome to the Grit Growth Podcast. Commit to conquer, lead your life, leave a legacy, gather your grit, and let's get after it.
What's going on, Carson?
Hey, not much, Joe. How's it going?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. This is Matt.
What's going on,
Joe?
Matt? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Good to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Where you guys all at?
Yeah, so Gainesville, Florida, mostly,
Cool.
basically. Yep, home of the Gators, University of Florida.
Yeah.
Yep. Where are
Nice.
you broadcasting from?
I'm in New Jersey, so Jersey Shore, a couple miles north.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Yeah.
what's the real Jersey Shore like, right? Everyone wants to know.
Wait, we just fist pump all day.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
That exists. The Jersey Shore from the show. I assume that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like half.
But I just know of it.
That's real stuff, man. Like that's like a half an hour south of me, but that's not me.
Well, I know you live in the social media world, so I'm sure you've seen the memes of Florida man, right? Florida man did this, did that, whatever, like pet alligator and
all
jacked up on meth and whatever else they have Florida man stuff about. Yeah, that's we don't dabble with any of that, but
yeah.
you do see it kind of passing by sometimes.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Man.
So anyways, yeah, so real quick introductions. We kind of chatted briefly at ContractorCon a few weeks back in Orlando, and I really enjoyed the event. It was an awesome event. Jesse put on a heck of a show. I told everybody I've talked to, I said, even just a couple of the speakers that were there was worth every penny, or more, but having that much power in the room and so many compelling arguments, and powerful messages. So that was great. And I was introduced to your company and your message, and definitely hit home for me because I like to think I'm a gritty person and I have what it takes, but when it comes to marketing and social media, I'm like the very bottom rung of the ladder. So I think I'm hoping, I got a lot from your presentation, but I'm hoping to through osmosis gain some more of it as we talk today as well.
Yeah.
So I'm in the contracting business. Me and Matt used to work together before. Matt was my boss in a past life, and now he's on the consulting side of things, and I am on the subcontracting side of things, as opposed to general contracting where we used to be. So now I own a concrete company. So real brief, that's our background. And that being said, do you want to just do a quick introduction for yourself for your business?
So Joe Hughes, we're on Contractor Dynamics. We're a marketing training company for the construction industry. So we train construction companies on how to do their own marketing, how to build out a marketing machine inside their businesses so that they have more control over their marketing and their ability to build a brand and generate customers, and they have control over their growth. That's what we do as a company. Been in business almost 10 years. And prior to that, I grew up in my family's construction business here in New Jersey and New York City for a whole bunch of years. So that's kind of why, but that is why we have the contracting focus, because it's in my blood and just can't escape it,
Definitely.
So we go from Jersey Shore kind of memes to now we go to mafia, right? I mean, construction in New York, right? I mean,
or New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit all the stereotypes. We're gonna get them out of the table. We're gonna get through them. Then we'll be all right.
Yeah. So my family business, Hughes Marine Firms, is a non-union company, and for those people that know, like New York City is heavily unionized, and so we'd be on job sites, or our equipment would be on job sites, and it would get sometimes vandalized or spray painted by the union guys. So yeah, that stuff exists, man. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, actually, when you say you're non-union or open shop, that's in that area. I don't know it well, but from what I do know, that's you kind of taking your life in your own hands. You talk about grit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, luckily I was never in a precarious situation personally, but yeah, so it was interesting. This is way before I started with the family biz. They bought a pretty big piece of property in Brooklyn, New York, and this is back in 1992. And guy showed up like a day later, and he told my uncle Rob, he's like, "All right, I'm your ice guy." There's like a big ice machine in the building. He's like, I'm your guy." And like, that was it. There's no like, hey, I want to introduce myself. I'm Joe. I was the ice guy. I serviced this machine for the previous owner. It's like, no, I'm your guy. And like, okay, well, all right, let's go. Nice to meet you. So yeah, it's kind of the way it operates sometimes,
That's cool though. I mean, to each their own. Yeah. So basically the purpose of this podcast, we're trying to restore American grit. That's the tagline. So you talk about, the family business, growing up in construction, those type of things that, I hate to use the cliche that they're going away or they're dying, but you definitely see less of them. And, we had college education shoved down our throat for a generation or two now as a whole. And so the trades have suffered. And I think that's pretty universally accepted at this point, and there's a lot of data to back that up. So root cause, that's what I'm trying to solve, and get the message out there of what opportunities are available, not just in our industry, but really just with some grit and passion and perseverance and what can be done with it. So that being said, that's kind of the lens that we're looking at these interviews through. But that being said, we can go wherever you want to go with it. It could be, your personal journey or, family business to moving into your journey. I think there's got to be a grit story there. I'm sure there is. And then, but then the other option is, real world application. How do you see, what do you see from the companies who successfully implement what you teach, maybe versus some that aren't so successful with it, and what makes or breaks that? We can go any kind of which way you want to go, but
if you don't mind, Carson, I want to get specific. And Joe, my wife is part of a family construction business, and it was just assumed that she would work within the business. So I'm just going to make an assumption that there were certain assumptions for you to be in the business, and you kind of are. You're in construction, but you got your own thing going. What was it like trying to break from the family? Because that had to take some courage and some grit in order to do that.
Yeah, that was definitely, I think, a relevant story. So family business is 128 years old this year. They started in 1894. And so I grew up as the sixth generation in that family business. So my first job when I was 14, I was going up to the shipyard. So for context, it's like maritime construction. So like barges and tugboats and like big ass cranes and, big heavy equipment, right? So if you're building a bridge, repairing a bridge, and marine infrastructure, whatever it might be. And then they also, in addition to contracting, they also do coastwise transportation. So like, they build a lot of power plant modules up in Maine, and they'll ship them to, New Orleans or Florida or wherever. And like anything that's too big to travel on rail or on truck, you put it on a barge and you ship it down. It takes a week or two to get down to the Gulf of Mexico. And that's how you do it, right? Things that people don't normally think about. But I started working in the shipyard when I was 14. Just learning all the blue collar trades out there, welding steel and cutting steel with a torch and painting tugboats and driving tugboats and driving a forklift and everything short of the crane, because for obvious reasons you need to be licensed for that. So I'm glad that I was, never got my wish to be in the crane. But yeah, grew up in that. And and went to college, got the 4-year, business degree from a fancy college and all that. In retrospect, like, it was cool, but like, you learn more on the job for sure. And I think the value prop of a 4-year university is decreasing unless you're specializing in like medicine or engineering or something like that. Right. So yeah, graduated college. I worked in the office of the family biz in New Jersey for, I guess, 9 years. And it was a hard decision. It was an inflection point in my life. I was like 30 years old at the time. And I was like, all right, we're starting to build a family, starting to have our first kid. And I've been doing this for a while. And, at 30 years old, I'm like, hey, this is a 100-year-old company, like kind of like job security, right? Getting paid decent money, not baller money, but like, good pay, benefits,
Living well.
company car, traveling up and down the East Coast. Like, it was cool. But I was like, I don't know if I want to do this for the next, for the rest of my life. Like, I just want to, for those of us who are entrepreneurs, like you will understand that just kind of, you have that burning desire to build something of your own, and you have one life to live. So why not? So yeah, that was a hard conversation. I probably built that up for at least 6 months in my head. Like, how do I tell my dad? So my dad and my 2 uncles are the owners. Like, how do I tell them I'm leaving? It's like, you get in, it's like the mafia. Like, once you get in, like, you don't get out. Right. And it was a hard conversation, but like, one of the saving graces that I have a few cousins that are also my generation in the business. So it's not like my leaving was like ending the 100-year-old reign, so you had that conversation with my parents. Actually, yeah, 10 years ago. What year is it? I guess 11 years ago. It was a Friday after Thanksgiving. I'm in my parents' kitchen, and I'm just like, I'm sweating, and I'm like, I just kind of blurted it out. Like, I want to go do something on my own. And I don't even know what I said, but at the end of the day,
what was harder, proposing to your wife or having that conversation?
Yeah, I don't know. Those are both like proposing to my wife was easy. It was having, going, knocking on my in-laws, my to-be in-laws door, and like asking permission. That was like, I was freaking out. Not because I knew they were going to say yes. It's just like, it's a big life moment, Yeah. But, that was before we had our first kid, that conversation with my dad. And now I realize, having 2 kids of my own, like, your parents, hopefully, or my parents, certainly, like, they just want you to have a roof over your head and be happy and be, secure and all that stuff. So they've been supportive, but yeah, that was a tough conversation, leaving a sure thing and jumping out, and like, talk about jumping out of a plane and kind of building your parachute on the way down. Like, that's pretty much what I did. So yeah, that was tough, but like, you gotta, you have that calling inside you, whatever it is, if it's like, if it's God thing or, whatever it might be, you gotta listen to those things. So that was that story. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So how did you get in? Is your degree in marketing?
Finance and information systems, whatever the heck information systems means. I don't know. It sounded good. When I was in college, I learned a couple of things, but I had, obviously the constructing background, and, had a passion for, I learned a lot at the family business, like, small business, learned a lot about, all different aspects. And I saw like marketing was something I was definitely interested in. And I saw the gap in the construction industry because it's, as you guys know, it's a few years behind the times, and, with technology, software, automation, marketing, it's come a long way, of course, but I saw that gap. So, it's like, where can I like be, a consultant and go into a company and really, make a difference. And marketing was that. So yeah, that's why Contractor Dynamics was, started in 2013.
Gotcha.
So you kind of made it sound, again, I want to kind of dive deeper into the decision leading up to you actually having to tell your parents, tell your dad that Friday after Thanksgiving. You just had Thanksgiving, you sit around the table. Of course, you're thinking about it the whole time, right?
Yeah.
At Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, it's sitting in your head, but I mean, you say leading up to that, I mean, there had to be, if there's other entrepreneurs out there that have the sure thing or sitting pretty stable, what was the trigger for you, or what are things for them that maybe say, go do it, like have the courage to take the leap?
Maybe it's confidence in yourself in terms of like, hey, I've got some skills that I can, I've got integrity. I know that I can go out and help people. And, speaking of grit, like, yeah, growing up in a shipyard at 14, like working like in the winter on the water in New York Harbor, like, man, that it's horrible. Like it sucks, but it develops grit. And then you're working alongside with literally people from all over the world, immigrants for whom like that's an amazing job to work in that shipyard, right? So having that perspective, that we have certain opportunities for those of us who are born in this country, I believe that not everyone has. So like having that perspective, but yeah, having that confidence in yourself that like, hey, I have integrity, I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to work hard and figure out how to figure it out. So I had no doubt my ability to work hard. I still don't. That's almost a detriment sometimes, because sometimes I think I can just put my head down and work, but like you need to pick up your head and think about what you're actually doing. But that gave me the confidence. From a practical standpoint, my wife, at the time, she had a full-time career in finance. So that was some financial stability for us. And we're just about to have our baby. And actually, within a 4-month period, we had 3 major life events. So we sold our condo because we needed more space for our son who was coming. Sold our condo, lost a bunch of money on that because we bought it in 2008. At right before the crash. We sold it in 2012. So we lost a bunch of money on that, quit my family biz, and had our first baby all within like 4 months. Would not recommend that plan at all, but you just figure things out, right? You just figure it out. So having that confidence in myself, knowing that I'll just work my butt off to make it work. And then having a little bit of a runway with my wife being having the financial, support for the family, that definitely helped. Otherwise, for someone who's starting that needs to, start up and make money right away, I would recommend, starting nights, or wake up at 4 a.m. and work on your side hustle and get it to a point where you've got some money coming in, you've got some recurring income or predictable income coming in to where you feel comfortable enough to take that leap. Because I didn't make much money for, the first couple of years, but I know that not everyone's in the position to be able to do that. So, yeah.
No, great stuff.
Yeah.
No, because you kind of broke down that decision process there for you and kind of what got it going. But I think, having the confidence is big, and so do you know what kind of gave you the confidence?
One of the things I like to say is that there's a solution to every problem, and, working in construction and working outside in the elements, hot, cold, windy, whatever it might be. There are things every day working out there in a shipyard, and then working in the family business that like things that come up, you got to figure it out. And like, other people have figured them out before you. So there's a solution, you just got to find it. So that's a big thing for me, is just like there's a solution to every problem. If you can like maybe zoom out for a second and like look at things and kind of assess what's going on, you can figure that out. And if you can't figure it out, then like find some people that help you figure it out, because we don't know everything on our own. We gotta get a team around us that can help us with some of those gaps. So yeah, problem to every solution. And it's funny, like I tell that to my kids all the time. They're 10 and 7 now. And like, their problems are small, of course, but dramatic to them in their own way. But like, hey, all right, we'll figure it out. There's always a solution to every problem,
So you've not to monopolize your time here, but you've mentioned, kind of the shipyard, working out there, working around immigrants, the best job that they're ever going to have, the perspective that brought you, and do you think that perspective, maybe it didn't give you confidence, but did it give you, I mean, I don't want to use the word perspective again, but I mean, did it gave you a different lens to look through than maybe what some people have? It's like, the guys out there in the shipyard that are immigrants, it's like what they get to do every day, where others look at it and go, man, I don't want to do that crap. But they're like, man, I get to go to work. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to rub off at a certain point.
Yeah. It's, for me, I think the biggest takeaway is empathy. I am empathetic to everyone's situation. Not saying that I can put myself in the shoes of, an immigrant from South America or wherever, but like, having worked alongside people like I have, that like not everyone's born on third base like I was, right? Like not everyone has those opportunities. So in business today, it's like, all right, well, where this client's having some challenges, or, this team member is going through this thing, like, how can I put myself in their shoes and try to, see things from their perspective? I think that's one of my strong suits. And just keeps you humble, right? Cause like, I'm not above anyone, no matter how much I have or haven't accomplished. Like, I'm not above anyone, and it gives you that humility as well. So empathy and humility are a couple of the things that, I think most people that know me well would say are some of my strong suits. I would think. Maybe I should ask them, but I think so.
You're supposed to ask for testimonials and reference letters, right? So you need to be doing that research.
Yeah, for sure. But in business and in life, like that's, you got to be able to relate to people, and that just those two things help a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer that the struggle builds the strength, right? And I think that the same goes for the humility and empathy and perspective. You gained all that, or at least some of that, it was gained during that struggle time, right? As a kid, especially as a kid, because you're more impressionable as a kid, right? And you're in a discovery phase, exploration phase of life. I think I'm biased towards that because I had a similar experience at a similar age, but I share that common thread with you. So I think there's something to it, and I think that's something that upbringing, might be missing these days. You don't see a lot of high school kids working the summers at the shipyard or building houses or whatever it might be, partially because of I don't want to name any names of any law firms, but certain law firms that are looking for, ambulance chasing. And if you have a minor on your job site, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. That's part of the problem. But it's that exploration phase, that's that time to struggle and figure it out, right? I mean, how much of your success, if you in hindsight, can you attribute to the lessons you learned there that are transferable later in life?
Yeah. I mean, dude, you guys know business is hard, man. I had no idea how hard like owning a business was until I jumped out on my own. At the family business, I was an employee, an executive, if you will. I don't know. We didn't really have titles, but it wasn't mine, right? But this is mine. It's freaking hard. Like, it took way longer to build it than I thought it would, and we're still building. So yeah, that's a big part of it. Like, just having that work ethic to, like, again, whatever it is, I'll figure it out, and I'll find some other people to help me figure that out. And then, as far as kids, yeah, kids are soft these days for sure. And like, my wife and I talk about it, like we're too soft on our kids, and we've tried within the past year to get, help them develop some of that grit and some of that toughness, because that's what is required in this world. And I think they see that. I work from home a lot, and as a lot of people do, but I think they see that, they see how hard you work. My wife and I both work out every morning. Like, we don't sit around, we don't watch TV. So, kids are sponges. Like, they're watching what you're doing, and, hopefully that rubs off a little bit, so that's it's so interesting. Like, the business lessons that you learn are so transferable to like parenting or leading anyone, really. It's the same stuff, really. So yeah, hopefully we can impart some of that, the hardworking mentality on our kids, and not be so soft on them.
Yeah,
that's I kid with Carson, I'm going to write a book one day that's, if you can raise a 2-year-old, you can lead a company. It's the same principles, right? I mean, it's setting expectations, holding them accountable. I mean, but it starts with expectations and them understanding what to expect, and then following through with what you do and being consistent every day. So, right. And you just named them. You just named those things. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And there's no bad teams, only bad leaders, right? That's what Jocko would say.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, it's interesting. You mentioned Jocko. So I don't know if you're aware, but he has a series of books for, kids. I don't say
Mhm.
children, but so my 10-year-old son just finished the third one in that series, the Warrior Kids series, and I'm reading the third one. So I read the two and I'm reading the third one now. And they're awesome because that's exactly what Jocko teaches in those books is like through the stories that he tells. It's like, man, you gotta live personal excellence every day and raise your standard and be a leader to those around you. And so my son and I are reading those. He's 10. We're reading those books kind of together and
That's
talking
cool.
about them. Yeah,
That's
they're
really
awesome.
cool. I've seen those and I haven't made the investment yet. Is 10 the right age, you think, for yours? Is that age appropriate and he's absorbing it?
I think so, yeah, and that's why I wanted to read them as well because I wanted to talk about them with him because he likes to read, but who knows how much he actually comprehends or remembers. But we'll
Mhm.
talk about the concepts, and Mark is the main character in the book, so what would Mark do and things like that. So
Mm.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. Mine's about to turn 7, so I need to
Okay,
tee
probably a
that
little too
up.
young, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but getting there.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so circling back real quick to your entrepreneurship journey, how long would you say it was from, starting from scratch until you felt like, you mentioned that it took longer to build than you thought it would. And of course you're still building and we always will be, but how long was it until you felt like you made it or it was built per se?
I'll let you know. No, I'm kidding. Check back in a few years.
Yeah.
So the first 3 years, I would say about 3 years. The first 3 years, I struggled more than I had to because so this is where, the double-edged sword of being someone that can work really hard. I worked hard, but I had this mentality, like the Puritan work ethic, where I needed to figure out and do everything on my own. And somehow I thought my business model was unique and no one else would understand and all that sort of thing. So I try to figure out all the things on my own, make all the mistakes. And it wasn't until 3 years in that I hired my first business coach. His name's Tim. And that's when I joined a mastermind program online, like kind of a forum, if you will. It wasn't really a mastermind, but that's when I was like, oh, I'm going through these challenges, all these other people going through the same stuff, right? And there's people in here that have been here, been at it longer than I have. I can learn from them. I can pay to have this business coach, Tim, and for him to help me get out of my own way. And, he's 10 years older than me. So, learning that was valuable in business and in life. So really it wasn't until I got out of my own head and I sought the help of others that I started to gain some traction. And I think that's the biggest, lesson that I would impart on any new business owner. It's like, your business is probably not unique unless you're Elon Musk and you're going to Mars or whatever. There's other people that have been there and done that. So, get around them. It can be, just building relationships. It can be listening to podcasts like this, reading books, going to events, paying for coaching, whatever it is. But man, life is short and we don't have enough time to make all the mistakes we need to make on our own. Right. We're never going to eliminate the mistakes, but if we can limit them and maybe accelerate our learning curve a little bit, maybe enjoy the journey a little bit more because we're not so alone. That entrepreneurial loneliness is it's killer, man. But when you have other people that are in the trenches with you, that helps a lot, give you that confidence. So yeah, I would say about 3 years.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And
Was there a time when you looked in that mirror and were you almost ready to throw the towel in at any point?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was one point, I forget what year it was, but yeah, I looked for jobs. I was like, this is, it's too much stress on the family and kids. And at that a few years in, my wife had stopped working at that financial company, so it was all on me. But I got close, but I never did, of course. Yeah, so
the advice is to keep chopping wood.
yeah, keep chopping wood. And if you're going through some challenges or problems, mental or business or both, talk to someone, because again, we think I think the loneliest times were when we think like, oh man, I'm the only one going through this stuff, and like everyone else on social media is killing it, and why me? And I've gone through all those things, and I still do. I still struggle with like the comparison syndrome, but yeah, talk to people, you'll realize that like, everything we go through is common, it's normal, right? And people can help you work through that. So don't try to do it alone.
Yeah. So ask for help. But would you say that those 3 years where you were trying to do everything yourself were critical in the long run, and you having a deep understanding of every aspect of your business, or could you have benefited if you would have asked for help sooner?
The latter. I mean, I wish if I had to do it all over again, or if I'm, mentoring someone who's just starting out, I would say just get help from the beginning, I don't have, I guess you shouldn't have regrets, but like, yeah, I would do it differently for sure. Cause like those 3 years sucked. Like I was working hard, and at the end of the year, you look at your, your P&L, and you're like, wow,
Ouch.
I worked, like I missed, this, that, and the other thing. Like I worked hard. Like I don't really have much to show for it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was painful. Yeah. But it was, it was brand building. It was relationship building. Like, we still have, one of our clients, Nick, was my second client ever, and back from 2013. And, a guy today who has referred us to, millions of dollars in business. So, you can't discount, everything. Right. So there are things that you just never know. You just got to keep chopping wood.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you're in the business now is it primarily roofing contractors? Is that like your target market, or is it just contractors, period?
Yeah, good question. So from 2013 to 2018, it was all sorts of contractors. We had built a kind of a national brand, based on just like SEO and online marketing, and just, marketing for contractors. So, back in 2013 through 18, there weren't that many companies doing it. Now there's a million. So we built a national brand doing that. And then Nick, actually the client I just mentioned, he started introducing us to a lot of his roofing contractor buddies, and introduced us to an association. We ended up doing some work for a roofing contractor association, getting on stage, winning some awards and things like that. So for the past like 3 or 4 years, we've been focused like almost 100% on roofing. And as of November 1st, which is 2 weeks ago, we started to branch out into other types of contractors. Our thought process there is that like over the past 3 or 4 years within roofing, we built our core product, we built our processes, we got our core team, and now we have the confidence to say, hey, we could take the same thing and go to like, a GC or a remodeling contractor, or today had a call with a painting company out in California. So it's the same process. So now we've started doing that. So that's why I was at ContractorCon. That was kind of one of the first events that I've gone to outside the roofing industry in a while. So our big, hairy, audacious goal is to be the marketing training company for the construction industry. It's a long-term goal, which, I don't know if like there's ever a part where you arrive, but it's a big industry, as you guys know. So yeah, that's our big goal. So this is, the step that we took is one step in that direction.
Gotcha.
Was
That's
it
interesting.
hard to focus in just on roofing? When you look at marketing, you're saying, hey, I should diversify. Okay, I'm in construction. That's pretty narrow. Now you get into a specific sub trade, and you're taking that funnel down. I mean, how did that kind of come about in that decision to focus in? And obviously it was fruitful.
Yeah, so I made a lot of mistakes, but like one of the things that I am very happy I've always done is just to niche down and focus. And I'd recommend that for any contractor too, right? Like, there's contractors that might do roofing, and then they're like, oh, I'll do siding and doors and windows. And then, oh, Mrs. Jones wants me to do her kitchen. I'll do that too. I can figure it out. And, all that chaos just like stifles the business's growth. So yeah, focusing was awesome. The roofing industry is way bigger than everyone thinks. It's gigantic. Like there's like 100,000 roofing contractors in the country. Like it's crazy. So it's a huge market. I mean, we could stay in roofing for
It's
the
like
next
tires for your car.
Yeah, everyone needs it, right?
Yeah.
We could stay in roofing for the next, 5 years and continue to grow really well every year. So yeah, so it's giant.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's a good point. You want to make sure that you're, if you're just a local business and I'm saying like, hey, we're here in Central Jersey and we only work with Central Jersey roofing companies, well, then your pond is kind of like, limited, right? But on a national level, there's so many companies and there's so many starting up every year that need this help I've been talking about. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Did the pandemic help you because you could you could work remotely, but then it also justified more social media or media outlets like that as a viable means for advertising, marketing, etc.
Yeah, it was huge. Because roofing and exterior contracting services were essential businesses, so they could continue operating according to the crazy rules that everyone made, but whatever. And door knocking, a lot of our clients do a lot of door knocking. So whether it's like down in Florida or like the Midwest. And so I remember, like, for example, we had this one client, they were in the Midwest. They are in the Midwest. They do about 60 million bucks a year, all door knocking, right? So overnight, their main office is in Illinois. They were legally not allowed to knock on doors. So they're like, well, what do we do now? So, companies like that were getting on social media for the first time. And yes, that's that in combination with just the fact that it's now 2022 and, buyers are on social media, buyers are, looking for easier ways to make those decisions about hiring a contractor. Those two factors have, kind of created more demand for services like ours. But at the same time, the supply has increased as well. There's a bunch of, startup marketers and things like that. They're like, oh, contractors are horrible at marketing. I'm going to go try to sell to them. So the competition has increased like 100-fold over the past few years. So that's been a challenge, but we've got a solid brand and all that. So we're not worried about that.
So is social media, sound like social media is the primary focus. What's the percentage of that versus other formats of marketing?
Like for what we do, or
yeah, for what your strategy or what you recommend.
So like we have our primary like flagship offer. We have a 12-month marketing training program. So we work with a contracting company for 12 months and we help them build a marketing machine inside their businesses. A lot of times, yes, that does focus on social media. But these days, like to be successful, you want to be omnipresent in your market, right? So you want to be everywhere. You want to have, when someone searches your company, you want to make sure that you have a good website that's, professional and builds trust and converts, visitors into leads. You want to make sure your Google reviews are plentiful and, up as close to 5 stars as possible. You want to make sure your social media is dialed in, as far as, continuously updated content so people can see that you're relevant and you're not, hey, this guy's been posted in like 6 months. Are they still in business? Like, what's the deal, And then, a lot of our clients still do the traditional stuff like billboards and TV and radio and direct mail and all those things. So we help them build out the whole strategy, execute that, track everything as much as possible. But the reality is that we're all on this device for multiple hours a day. So like, this is a very, it can be a somewhat immediate and low cost way of getting in front of your market, with your value, right? With your videos, with your content, and that sort of thing. So yeah, we focus on social media because that's where the world's attention is on the mobile device, but marketing's never like a one-trick pony, there's always different aspects of it. And then the other aspect that most people don't think about marketing is like, hey, I get a lead in today for, whatever it might be, a roof or a kitchen remodel or, a commercial like tenant build out. Well, that prospect might be ready to go today as far as sign a contract, but chances are they're not, right? They might be in info seeking mode. So, maybe they're ready in 6 months. Well, what am I doing to stay in front of that person so that when they are ready, then, I'm top of mind and they're going to go with us. So that's part of marketing as well, as like, keeping people in that ecosystem once they do express interest in your services.
So do you do marketing for event venue space?
What's that?
Do you do marketing for event venue space?
I
It's
lost
a
you.
new market for you.
What's that?
Sorry. So yeah, one of my side hustles with my wife is event venue space. So
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can kind of see it out the window out there.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do our own events, like we host marketing workshops throughout the country, and so we'll market those. But yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, so if you need to do one in Florida and you need a
Yeah.
venue, then
Yeah.
Matt's the guy.
Yeah, I think we're
Right.
gonna do one, and we're just actually mapping out this week. I think we might. I want to do one in the Tampa area. I think.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll let you know.
Sweet.
Yeah, we've done it. We've been in Naples, a lot in Dallas. We do Chicago, Jersey. But yeah, I'll let you know.
So I mean, that sounds like a lot. Again, people who are listening to this, is that what you anticipated when you started, or is that kind of evolved into the best way to get the clients in the door for you?
As far as events,
Yeah.
Actually, funny you mentioned that. That's exactly how I started 10 years ago. I created a local Facebook group for contractors, Jersey Shore contractors, and I hosted coffee meetups every Friday morning, 7 a.m. at Green Planet Coffee. So I would just cold message or cold call these contractors, get them in the Facebook group, and then we'd have these meetups, and hey, show up at 7 a.m. Green Planet. At the time, I was just starting. I didn't have anything to sell. I didn't even know. I didn't know what I was doing, right? But I knew that if I could, get people together, then I would be, I'd have some value in terms of bringing people together. So you'd have like the roofing contractor talking to like the architect, talking to like the design build guy, talking to like the landscaper, the pool builder, whatever it is. And like they're forming these relationships and doing business together. And my first two clients came out of that, Nick, who I mentioned, and then Neil, another guy. And they were basically like, hey, like, so what do you do? And I was like, I don't know. What do you need help with? Like, I'll figure it out. And really, like, literally, that's how it was. That's how the start was. So that's how we started, kind of got away from that for a while, kind of relied on digital and social media for a while. But yeah, over the past 3 or 4 years, like we do a decent amount of events,
Like the game on your event. It's not necessarily Friday coffee house anymore, huh?
Yeah, it's a full day. Like we attend events, I'll speak at events and things like that. Like we were in Orlando last week for RoofCon, but then we'll host our own workshops, where it's like 6 hours of like, helping people understand the strategies and tactics of marketing. So really education focused. So yeah, it's a good way. And, we're always getting video content. We're going to those things. So there's value there. And then, getting people to buy into not necessarily us, although hopefully us, but like getting them to buy into like, here's how marketing works so that you can stop throwing your money away at a marketing agency that's over promising and under delivering, partly because, they're just selling you a bill of goods, and partly because you don't understand what you're buying. So at least understand the basics so that you can, make better decisions around that. Right. So that's, we're big on that.
I mean, that's huge for any entrepreneur, right? I mean, there's so much you don't know getting into business, to try to find your guy in each trade to kind of help you out, whether that's accounting, marketing, all that kind of support services, side of things, until you're big enough to actually hire. You're farming a lot of that out just to stay alive.
Yeah.
Or some people do, or you're trying to do it yourself and just like failing, but you're taking time away from what your primary is, if you're trying to do it all yourself.
For sure. Yeah. But you can't, like, I call like blindly outsource. So yeah, funny you mentioned that. This morning released a YouTube video on our channel. I had this lady named Barbara Strehans on. She's a tax strategist. So similar to Carson, to David, who was at ContractorCon, similar, type of business, but educating contractors on like, hey, here's how to like maybe legally pay less in taxes, or, here's what you need to do to get your books in order. So, understanding the basics so that when you go to hire someone to do your bookkeeping or, prepare your taxes, like you can collaborate with them and you're minimizing your chances that you'll get taken advantage of. So education, you don't have to be an expert in bookkeeping or marketing, but you have to understand the basics for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't outsource blindly, because how many horror stories do you hear about book? Well, I heard who was it? Oh, it was Dane Cook was on Ed Milet's podcast. Have you guys heard that interview?
Yeah.
I like both of those guys. I haven't, and I saw that episode. I listened to it yet.
Yeah.
Is it good?
So yeah, I don't want to give it all away, but Dane Cook's, I want to say it was his half brother he grew up with since he was a kid. So it was like a brother to him. He hired him as his bookkeeper when he kind of made it, and got famous or whatnot. And the guy embezzled or basically stole like $8 million from Dane Cook, his brother that he grew up with. And now he's in prison. I mean, and that was kind of Dane Cook attributed that really to the decline of his career. And now he's having to start back from scratch.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he didn't write a book. He made a movie about it, I believe. And I haven't watched the movie yet, but it's online and they reference it and allude to it. But that was the purpose of him being on the show, basically, was to tell that story, that he hit rock bottom and lost everything from a guy who he trusted as a brother, and then now he's starting over from scratch. So really,
wow,
a grit story. That's why I tuned into it, because it was like, man, this, that's some tenacity to have it all and then get it all taken and then start over. So
man, I couldn't imagine that. I think about that with like NFL players, like who blow out their knee, and they've been working so hard their whole lives. You tear your ACL or Achilles, and you have to like go to rehab for 6 to 12 months and like work your way back. Like that mental strength that is required to come back has got to be incredible.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely. And yeah, exactly. And the struggle builds that strength. Dane Cook, he talks about how if it would have been easy for him to make it the first time, he would probably throw the towel in now. He wouldn't be prepared to do what it takes the second time, because it's not easy. It doesn't have, his overnight success took 10 years or 15 years. So saying it's like lottery winners, the vast majority of lottery winners are broke within a year. And it's the same thing. They didn't go through the fire to earn that success. So then they can't handle it when they get it.
Yeah, 100% for sure.
That's what I've read anyway.
Yeah.
So is the family business, I'm just curious, is the family business a customer of Contractor Dynamics?
Currently, well, I mean, we like manage their website, but as far as like training them on social media, no. My cousin Rob does their social media. He actually does he does a good job at it. They were horrible at it as a company until he joined the business, and he's a creative guy and very like sarcastically funny. So it's good content. But they do it more so just like brand awareness, like recruiting type stuff. Because a lot of that work that they do is, it's government contracts. It's like, big bid RFPs and things like that. So they're not really like marketing for customers, so to speak. Right. So it's more of like, I don't want to say a fun thing, but it's like to have some sort of presence. So yeah, they're not a current client, but
okay.
And
I was just curious.
Yeah. And that's like, I'm not going to be the one to sit here and say like everyone needs to do marketing, right? So you might not need to do marketing if you're doing government projects, of course, right? But like, how about recruiting? How about having an attractive company that shows that you're doing cool stuff, because that's what people want to join, right? Most people don't think of recruiting as a marketing thing, but it really is. You're marketing for talent. So so yeah, that's another part of marketing.
Well, and wouldn't you say too that even if you're doing government contracts, that purchasing agent for that government agency, that person is probably on social media the same 2 hours a day or whatever it is that everyone else is, right? So they, and their Facebook app is listening to everything we say. So if you say Hughes Marine, the ad's going to pop up on your Facebook feed, an hour later anyway. So, yeah,
a lot of times it's staying top of mind with like the people that already know you, right? Like with that purchasing agent or, a former client who has a new project or something like that, for sure. That top of mind awareness is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how you're kind of going around, you're doing these seminars, you speak at a convention, people are getting free information from you. To a certain point, right? They pay to be at the convention, but at the same time, you're up there kind of giving them the spiel. How do you then monetize or put value on the service you offer when there seems to be a lot of it that's free content to them? So, I mean, a lot of business and entrepreneurs struggle with this.
Yeah. So the way that we delineate is so we have a ton of free content, right? YouTube, podcast, we have 110 episodes, speaking at events. Like I put out content every day on social media. And it's interesting because at an event like we were at last week at RoofCon in Orlando, there's a couple thousand people there. We had people coming up to our booth and being like, hey, I've implemented the things that you talk about on social media. We've had amazing results and done really well. So thank you so much. And we had a guy sit on our couch at our booth last week. Bill runs a roofing company in Phoenix, and give an amazing testimonial for our company. He's never given us a dime. And that's fine. That's cool, right? Because now we've got him on video, and that testimonial will be, we'll turn it into 6 figures in new business. So that's cool. You just got to trust that, what you're putting out there, there's going to be people that are like, okay, I understand that. People are going to implement it. And then there's going to be other people that are like, I want guidance with that. But the way that we delineate is like, hey, we'll give you all the free content out there. You can consume all you want. But if you want personalized implementation guidance based on your particular business, your situation, your ads, your marketing on a one-on-one basis, then that's where you're gonna have to pay. So that's where that's how we look at it, right? And then we just trust that we put out a lot of content and help people, and it's a certain portion of those people are going to come to us. It might be today, it might be next year. Typically we'll get new client that will join our 12-month training program that we onboarded a new client recently, a roofing company in Arkansas. The owner first messaged me in April 2021. So 18 months later, here he is, right? So it's the long game. It's a long game for sure. I think too many people are they want the immediate payoff. And I don't know.
Does that long game build on itself over time?
Yeah, for sure.
And then have you seen continued growth? Because you are staying top of mind. You're staying in front of them with all your free content. There's got to be a certain point where you can start to recycle it. It becomes fresh again after a certain point of time, I would think. But all those things you talk about as far as a good marketing strategy, staying, current, staying relevant, staying in front of them, all is paying off for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's, brand building content, building that know, like, and trust to your industry, that's an asset, right? And that just keeps getting stronger and stronger over time. So again, for attracting more customers and attracting team members, we have people reach out to us. They're like, hey, I love what you guys are doing. Are you hiring? So, that's the power of being out there in front of your market consistently as well. And same thing with construction companies. If you're building your brand and you're showing off your people and you're showing off your projects and sharing your core values and your community involvement and all that stuff, you'll get people reaching out to you who are like, hey, are you hiring? Cause I see that you guys have some cool stuff going on. So yeah, people, again, most contractors think of marketing as hey, I'm going to put out this ad or whatever. I'm going to do this marketing. How many leads can I get? And how quickly can I get them? And of course we want to try to, make sure we get proof of concept early on, but it is the long-term game, that most people don't really grasp.
Yeah. So for an analytical brain like mine, I want to ask you, what is the conversion rate of how many, views or hits or likes or impressions you get versus how do you convert that to dollars. But it sounds like you can't.
Well, with digital marketing, like a lot of it is trackable, like Facebook ads, Google ads, things like that, postcards. You can put a unique phone number on there, tracking and all that. So a lot of that stuff is trackable, and other things like radio and billboards and, just general brand awareness, like they're not as trackable. So yeah, you want to track as much as possible on a weekly basis, which is what we help our clients do. And then kind of look at it on a macro level in terms of like a quarterly or an annual basis. Like, hey, we spent 20% more in marketing dollars this year, and we did more activity this year. Like, do we see that increase in both revenue and profit, right? Because when you're doing a better job marketing, you're going to be, more profitable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Instead of trying to match those impressions up to leads or transactions, because impressions are anonymous, right? So
right.
You can, but then quarterly or annually, you can relate that back to revenue or and profit.
Yeah, and being able to understand, again, the basics of the data so that if you're on the right track, right? Okay, I might not be getting those results like this week, but like, okay, we're on the right track. We have more people visiting our website, more leads, whatever it might be. So looking at the progress, until you get the results.
Yeah.
So how do you take an industry? I mean, this is, I don't know why I haven't asked this earlier, but an industry that's built on hard bid, right? Very transactional.
Yeah.
How do you even convince them to invest in you in marketing?
Let's see. I got a call in 2 minutes, so I'll try to be quick.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, so I fully appreciate that, 95% of the construction industry does not care about marketing, right? So we just realize that, right? But the industry is so big that, naturally we find our people. And so we don't try to convince them during the sales presentation. We try to convince them with our free content. Like, we want to, put that content out there that kind of shifts the way that people are thinking about things, and getting those people to come to us and say, hey, like, I like what you're saying. I've tried these other things. These other things aren't working. It sounds like what you're talking about makes a lot of sense. Like, let's talk. So for us, it's generating those quality inquiries rather than a whole bunch of people,
you become the subject matter expert.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a sales guy. I don't want to sit here and try to convince you if you're not, bought in. I'd rather you see our content for a year and, get your buy-in that way. And then we have a sales conversation. If that makes sense.
Yeah. The line I picked up that I really liked from ContractorCon was, it's the digitization of your reputation, right? So if you look at it that way, it's more justifiable. It's if you're that subject matter expert, then it theoretically would carry the same weight as your handshake or your signing the contract.
Yeah, right.
So I know I really want to be respectful of your time. I want to squeeze in one more question if I can. For a new entrepreneur, contractor or not, any entrepreneur, what would you say is number one goal, primary target to start building your brand today?
Number one goal. So if you're gonna contractor, let's just assume local contractor. You're in say Orlando, right? You don't need everyone in Orlando to know who you are. You don't need to market to the entire Orlando area. You just need everyone in call it a 5-mile radius to know who you are and what you do and what problems you solve. So we call that 5-mile famous. So if you can become famous in a 5-mile area, then you're going to be that top of mind guy or that girl or that company. So focus on that. And the way that you can do that is just by distributing your social media content every day. And then you can also run, targeted ads within a 5-mile radius just to stay top of mind with everyone in that radius. Because you're not just marketing to your next customer, you're marketing to anyone that's in a position to recommend you, refer you, that sort of thing. So focus on being 5-mile famous. And that's a really good starting point. Even as a sales rep, even if you're not a company, they're your sales rep, like you can do that as well.
Gotcha. Awesome. No, that's great. I've never heard that term coined before, but that's great. 5-mile famous. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Well, really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. And yeah, it was great. Hope we can do it again one day. And looking forward to following you and getting more tips and improving my own marketing.
Cool. Yeah. Sorry, I have to hop off on a client call, but yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
All right. See ya.
All right. See you.
Thank you for listening to the Grit Growth Podcast with hosts Carson Stefanelli and Matt Webster. We sincerely hope you were inspired by the interview and found at least one useful tool or tactic to implement in your own life. Now, level up by taking immediate action. Apply one lesson learned to your life as soon as possible to make sure it sticks. Post it and tag us to increase accountability. You can join the Grit Growth movement to restore American grit to its former glory by building an unprecedented force of conquerors, both in business and in life, at www.gritgrowth.org and wherever you're active on the socials. Please also drop a rating and review on your podcast app, as it goes a long way in helping the movement gain traction. Now, don't let this inspiration go to waste. Commit to conquer. Lead your life. Leave a legacy. Gather your grit and go get after it.